All right. So now we have our main panel. I'm super excited to present you an all-star panel of engineering leaders. So the first one is at this small startup. You may not have heard of it. It's called TikTok. Bhaskar, please come on in. Thank you for joining us. So I met him during GTC. He came to one of our events, and I cornered him and forced him to speak here. But we're super excited to have you. So thank you so much.
I'm here only due to the Lebanese food.
Oh yeah, isn't the Lebanese food the best food? Right? It's so good. Okay, thank you. And then our next all-star is Matt Greenberg. He's CTO at Handshake. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And then our awesome CTO. So he used to be head of AI at U.com, and now he just got promoted to CTO. So Saahil, please come on up.
There you go, Brad.
Awesome. All right. So before we start the panel, just maybe give us a 1-minute intro about you and then what you're building in Agentic AI.
Use this one?
Yes.
Hey, hey, my name is Saahil. Thank everybody for coming to this event. It's really nice to see so many folks here. And I guess the one summary of what we're building in Agentic AI is we're building the AI search APIs that are going to power a lot of these agents. And we're really excited about building search for AI.
Hey, I think I've been talking with a few people here. It's very interesting, right? I think I like the way Ankit mentioned, hey, MCP is nothing but a smart API. That way, think about agents as nothing but a series of smart APIs that follow either rules or that follow a path towards an outcome, right? So pretty much anything that we see is being agentified. The best example I would give you is when you think about your news feed, be it your news feed on LinkedIn or your news feed on Meta or on TikTok, there's actually an agent that's making a decision on what we need to show you next. Is it about something that's hot? Is it about something that we want to monetize? Or it's about something that we think you'll be interested in? So it's interesting in how almost everything that we are interacting with is being agentified. It's just not an agent the way you would think an agent is, but at the end of the day, an agent is nothing but a series of steps that goes towards a goal or an outcome.
Awesome. Matt, tell us a little bit more about you and Handshake.
Awesome, yeah. My name is Matt Greenberg. I'm the CTO at a company called Handshake. We sort of have two main things that we do. We're the largest professional network for Gen Z. We pretty much for every college student in the United States. And we also have one of the largest human data companies in the world and provide post-training data for frontier AI labs. And right now, just literally today, the main focus I have in agents is security after a bunch of the supply chain issues of this week. And one of our main competitors in human data got probably the most egregious hack of all time. And so that's pretty much all I'm thinking about right now.
You have to tell us now. What is the hack? I want to know. What happened?
Hopefully everyone here has seen that on the internet, but who knows about Light LLM?
I was busy organizing this event, so.
But yeah, very large scale exfiltration of basically 100% of the data at the company via the Light LLM hack. But it was because everything internally, like the Databricks picture, was all plugged through MCP servers. And they just basically ended up prompt injecting exfiltration of all of the data that you could see via MCP and your data lake out of the company, something like 14 terabytes of data.
My God.
So I don't want that to happen to my company. And so we're reevaluating everything we're doing and the control we have around it.
So I feel like with AI agent, every 2 days I hear about a crazy hack, like Claude now code just got also released, right? And you would think that Anthropic had extremely high security. So it's kind of scary. But Bhaskar, this is my question for you, right? You worked at Meta, you worked at Stripe, now you worked at TikTok. Like, what changes do you need to do when you design for agents? And then what breaks first? Is it always security?
Hey, totally. Very interesting question, right? Now, let's talk about maybe human behavior versus how agents work, right? So when you're dealing with humans and when we're dealing with APIs or smart APIs, you can control access, you can restrict access, you can talk about identity authentication only at one layer. Now, when you're talking about an agent and the agent needs to act and follow a certain number of steps, or maybe the steps are broken. I mean, in the sense that humans typically follow a funnel. I mean, let's assume that I want to go and shop. I think about, hey, what do I need to shop? Do I need new shoes? Is it shoes for me? Is it for my kids? Do they play basketball? What is the size? How do I think about it, etc.? An agent doesn't follow the funnel. The agent directly goes to the outcome. So now the latency between identity, authentication, authorization, and then the transaction has collapsed, right? Therefore, when we think about agentic workflows or we think about agentic maybe commerce, because I am focused on ads and commerce, and I realized I didn't introduce myself earlier. So I focus on ads and commerce at TikTok, right? So I'm actually at the money layer. Trust, safety, verification, guardrails, controls become very important. So yes, there's a lot of focus on the sexier part of transactions in the sense that yes, we want to reduce the friction, but we also want to be cognizant of what does the friction reduction mean? What is the risk tolerance? What are the boundaries? What are the guardrails? And it's always a constant balance. I mean, the reason why these hacks happen is that at the end of the day, right? I mean, we want to focus on growth. I mean, I used to work in banking earlier, and the perspective was there's no risk, there's no reward. I mean, you just cannot make any money without taking risk. Therefore, the answer is not that have guardrails and controls so tight that nothing happens. The perspective is, hey, if I'm going to focus on, say, X billion dollars of transactions, Y billion dollars of money flowing through the system, and if I'm going to focus on X number of people doing it, what is my risk tolerance? So you need to essentially have the tolerance at every level and think it through. But again, the perspective is not a workflow perspective. It's now a transaction perspective and a risk management perspective. Right.
Got it. So it's like finding a balance, basically. Yeah, you have something to add to that.
Can we crosstalk a little bit?
Totally.
All right. So I've been thinking a lot about ads in agentic workflow because agents basically just skip steps for you. But all of those steps were monetized on the internet because of ads. And now everyone's going to skip all the ads and just go like direct to the outcome they wanted. Maybe this is less true inside of TikTok because you're already getting someone there in that like attention economy. But for almost every other product, you're sort of like skipping the search step. And so how are you thinking about that in terms of ads?
Totally. Hey, it's a very interesting question, right? I mean, maybe for the other folks, I'll sort of break down the question. I mean, typically when advertisers or retailers, they think about ads as having like a funnel. I mean, they talk about it as a 4-stage or the 10-stage funnel, right? They talk about, hey, typically people are aware of a product, so that's called brand advertising, right? So whenever we go to TV or we see billboards on the 101 or we see ads by Messi, Ronaldo, or Kobe Bryant or whatever, right? They're all brand advertising where these people have their names attached to brands. From there, you go to engagement. From there, you go to purchase consideration. Then you get coupons, offers, promotions, and then finally you go to purchase. So it's typically a 4-step process, sometimes a 10-step process. And these funnel processes take anywhere from maybe 3 minutes to maybe 3 months. So if you're buying a car, you might spend 3 months thinking about it. If I'm buying maybe a watch, I might spend 3 days thinking about it. If I'm buying maybe a belt buckle, I might spend 3 minutes thinking about it, right? But there is an inherent funnel, and ads essentially influence me at various stages of the funnel. A brand ad, I mean, if you see a brand ad with maybe, I guess we are in SF, if Steph Curry is saying, hey, I don't know, go and drink Coke or go and buy Nike or go and wear Under Armour, I'm going to buy Under Armour, right? But then Matt, what Matt is saying is with agentic commerce and agents making the decision, the funnel is collapsing. And we are seeing this live in real time, right? I mean, the example I give people typically is 20 years ago, there were multiple ad agencies in the world. I mean, now pretty much ad agencies don't exist. There are only a handful. And pretty much Google, Meta, and TikTok are your ad agencies. I mean, I think for folks in the room, I don't even know how many of you have seen the Mad Men show set in New York in the 70s. And that show might seem very alien, but that is how agencies used to work. You pretty much went to an agency. They think about, hey, what are you? Are you a brand? What's the objective? What do you want people to do? Do you want them to feel an emotion, etc.? So that is how ads used to work. And then it all became search ads. Where you go to Google, you search for something, and Google monetizes it, right? No wonder the quality of ads on TV has gone down, the storytelling has gone down. So now that process is unfortunately going to continue. So what is now going to happen is search itself is broken, right? I mean, I think if you think about brand searches or product searches, they originate on Amazon, they don't originate on Google anymore, or they originate on TikTok, or now maybe they originate directly on ChatGPT and you check out on ChatGPT, right? And when I say ChatGPT, it could be ChatGPT, it could be Gemini, it could be Claude, it could be anything, right? So ultimately, the perspective then becomes, and this way, I define myself as an ads and commerce guy. I don't define myself as an ads guy. So what does it mean? My objective, and I've been saying this for the last 10 years, is not to work with a company to show you an ad. My objective is to work with a company to help drive commerce for them. And on the other side, I need to work with my user base. It doesn't matter if my user base is at Meta or at TikTok, or if I'm working with online stores with a Stripe. The users that go to these stores have a particular objective. I need to help them get to the objective super fast. So it's less friction for the user, more flow for the company. So once I think about it from that perspective, I don't really care if it's a brand ad or a search ad or a performance ad. I am focusing on driving outcomes for you, right? And which very much goes back to my earlier answer about the funnel collapse. And ultimately, it's an outcome-driven market. And I don't know how many of you might have read that ChatGPT wants to focus on conversion ads. So what does it mean? I'm not going to charge you for the billboard on the 101. I'm not going to charge you for 1,000 people seeing an ad. But I can come to you and say, hey, if someone is searching for, I don't know, say a diverse attorney, I will charge you $10,000 to get you one client, rather than charge you $100 per view or $1,000 per click, right? I'm going to charge you directly. I'll get you a client, you pay me $10,000.
That's interesting. Yeah, ads are moving so fast. And just in general, technology has been moving so fast. So, Saahil, you've been one of the very early employees at you.com, right? Like you were, what, the third or fourth employee, which is super, super cool. So when did you realize that like normal search wasn't enough for AI agents? And then what did you change after that?
Yeah, this is a very fun question. And actually, one quick comment on the conversation here. When we talk about a lot of these steps being skipped, this is also something that in some ways is related to this question as well, which is what does search look like and what is the role that this plays in this world? Something that we've noticed essentially is when we started off in 2020, we started a consumer search engine. That was kind of our focus. And in that world, we also weren't doing advertising at the time, but we did have to monetize in various ways, which kind of was based on attention. In this world now, the way in which we monetize is very simple. It's based on usage. And the difference now is that when people use our APIs, they pay per API use. They're not paying based on whether they're clicking on a link, et cetera. And this is very interesting because kind of going to Matt's question, one thing that we're going to start seeing as an emerging trend is that agents will have budgets and they'll be, using their budgets accordingly with some of our APIs. And this level of autonomy, where you're giving an agent a budget to kind of do its own work is very new. And it's very exciting to us because we want to basically build the best tools that will allow agents to make best decisions. And part of that also is building into our APIs, et cetera, this notion of budgeting and making it very transparent to agents. So that was kind of, an interesting thought that popped up from this discussion. But in terms of your question, when did we realize that search was broken for agents? This kind of traces back to our history. So in 2022, at the end of the year, obviously the world changed when ChatGPT was launched. And maybe a couple months after that, we launched what we called YouChat at the time. And we were essentially building the search APIs and then also building the chat product using these search APIs. And that's when we realized that search designed for LLMs is very different because we were in some ways the first user of search for LLMs. At this point in time, we've actually focused on the search API aspect. We realized that this is our core competency. We're building the best AI search APIs in the world. And the reason we kind of realized it was broken is because we were actually the first users of search APIs. And there's a lot of different constraints that come into play when you're using search APIs for agents versus humans, which we can dive into later.
Awesome. That's really, really good perspective. So let's talk a little bit, who here is scared that, like, for real, AI is going to take your job? Whoa, nobody? That's amazing.
I'm scared. I mean, I think we should all be scared.
All right. Well, I'm a little bit concerned about that. But Matt, so you lead a fairly big organization. So how is AI changing what talent means in tech?
Well, one thing I would say is basically every student is scared that AI is taking their job. If you go to any university, they're terrified that there's like not going to be an opportunity for them. And if you look at the market, probably the last few years have been the first time in 50 years where there's been consistent unemployment for new grads higher than the generalized unemployment for the country. And so there's definitely, I think, real worry and probably like reason to be worried about what that means for everyone. I think the flip side of that is when you talk to the more leading indicator companies towards the future, everyone wants to hire an agentic workforce, not just in terms of the agents they want to employ, but the people who are willing to interact with them. And they're looking for the people who are sort of like AI forward. And so, Databricks had their stats up here, but like we don't want 88% of our engineers writing AI generated code. We want 100% of our engineers writing AI generated code. So, probably the CEOs in the room are saying, how do I find those 12% of the people and trade them out for the new grads who are going to vibe code like crazy and be totally AI native? And I think that that's like a very real challenge in this ecosystem that everyone needs to be willing to change. Now, that said, I'm old enough that like my first programming language was assembly. And if I was trying to write our current app using assembly language, it would not work so well. I would probably be writing for a long, long, long time. And then everyone started writing in like BASIC and Pascal and then soon C. But then we moved to like C++ and Java. All the engineers said, well, like no one who doesn't know how to malloc is ever going to amount to a good engineer, right? Like the people who think this way. So it's like, as engineers, I think we're used to seeing the form factor in which we're thinking and building changing. And so I don't think anyone knows exactly what is going to come from this ecosystem. And if they confidently are telling you they do, they're definitely selling you something. But it's clear that a lot of the way that we work is changing in super meaningful ways.
Funny. So I've been coding for like 15 years, right? And I started coding in PHP and I thought that was the coolest thing after learning assembly language, right? But I was talking to my little boy and I'm like, Leo, you're a vibe coder because he codes, he's 9. And he's like, what is vibe coding? I'm like, you just code and type words and sentences. He's like, isn't that what coding is anyway? So like people are just gonna grow up not knowing assembly language and what we have to go through. So interesting that it's moving so fast. So all right, so this is
A couple of other points over here, right? Just to add to it. I used to work at Meta and now I'm at TikTok and I'm already seeing the impact of, and again, not to be a scaremonger, right? But I'm already seeing the impact of AI and maybe being more effective in requiring much lesser headcount than we used to do earlier. So, the example I would give is, yes, TikTok operates at a much smaller scale than Meta, but an equivalent team in Meta has about 40 to 60 PMs. And my team at TikTok is only 4 PMs. So we manage the same scale, scope, and complexity. Yes, it's maybe about maybe 5 to 10 times smaller, but growing maybe 5 to 10 times faster. But all that I have is like a fraction of the PMs, and I don't really feel the need for more people. And when I say PMs, it's not just PMs. There's a lot of other functions that maybe a big company has, which AI has now eliminated, right? When we talk about, say, program managers, project managers, you talk about policy managers, you talk about, do we need people in privacy? A lot of this can now be replicated by LLMs or just having smart agents, right? So I would say that there's definitely a nuance where I think certain job functions might not exist anymore. Certain job functions will become accelerated. And the people that will benefit from the acceleration of people that actually get their hands dirty and hands-on. In fact, I think I was talking to someone today and he was talking about how it's better to be an IC than a manager. I would say that the distinction is less about IC and manager and more about, look at a Meta and a TikTok, even the VPs are ICs in the sense that half my time or maybe even more of my time I spend ICing stuff rather than just managing people, right? Again, you manage outcomes, you don't manage people, right? Therefore, I think there's going to be a nuance. And I have a feeling that a lot of the large companies which are hiding behind context When I actually read a series of articles about context mattering, I think companies are going to hide less and less behind context, and CEOs I hear are now in panic because they do not know what to do next. Right? I mean, I do agree. I don't think anyone knows what's next, but people do know that AI is here, and people do know that companies that use AI are going to get smarter. Who's it going to be? No one knows. In what form, what shape, no one knows. But I think everyone is running now, right?
All right. So that counter argument would be like outside of the handful of companies, there hasn't been like a meaningful acceleration in outcomes. There's no like extreme economic change if you didn't count it. And so while I think, yeah, like the Twitterverse is all about like, well, we can eliminate these jobs, we can make these changes, and we can do these things. It hasn't actually like accelerated business outcomes. So there's not more like revenue being generated, except for the 3 or 4 companies who are, well, I guess maybe it's probably 30 companies in that like incestuous loop selling compute to each other, you know, to drive things and then investing in each other to make it happen. But like the rest of the economic outcome hasn't happened.
The image of, the crocodile eating its own tail.
So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
So this is for all of you, maybe like a semi-trick question. So do agents replace people, or do they make people just more powerful?
I'll start on my thing, but no, I don't really think they do. I think in aggregate, you might be able to say like a smaller number of people could get more stuff done. But if they're getting more stuff done, then they should be creating more economic impact for your business, which means you should actually want more people who are creating more outcome for the same value. And so I think like a number of things are true. One is there are definitely certain types of projects that we could take on now that we wouldn't have imagined doing before. Our AI product has basically been a 0 to 1 build and has like driven to $1 billion in revenue faster than anything I've ever seen. And it would have been impossible to do it with the resourcing we did without significant AI acceleration in what we built. And I think that those things are really true. And even some technology transition, like we had a legacy product that we were not really developing against in a certain way. And when I first joined, engineers were like, well, to bring this to our modern standards would take 4 engineers, 18 months or something like that. I was like, yeah, it doesn't seem worth it. But now like 2 engineers did it in 12 months and with great prompt engineering, and it was like happy to YOLO. And so you see these sorts of tasks that are really enabled in unique ways. But I don't think that in the end, that's like ultimately what should happen if it's really creating economic opportunity for everyone.
I feel like AI agent is like the computer, right? It's going to make us more productive as humans, but it doesn't mean it's going to completely change everything. Because sales at the end of the day, it's all about like relationship, and you can't really like code your way through that.
It's hard to run an economy if none of us have jobs to buy stuff.
Exactly. So Saahil, I have a question for you. Let's go to infra and scaling. And then again, this panel is for you. So I do want to open it up for questions. But while you're thinking about your question, I have a game for you while we're talking. So after he answers, I will tell you about our game. Okay. So Saahil, tell us a little bit about like, how do you balance speed vs accuracy? And then what trade-offs did you have to make? Because AI is moving so fast. Like every week there's a new AI startup, right? So how do you balance that?
Yeah, I think this is the question that we pretty much think about every single day here at you.com in many different contexts, which is how do we balance speed and accuracy? And I can talk about this in several different situations. The most tactical ways within our AI search APIs. This is a trade-off that's really at the core of many of our products. And a simple example of this will be when you're using your product and you're figuring out what your agent should do. I talked about this idea of agents having budgets. And we can come up with different, accuracy, latency curves based on your budget. And over here, this is where you have to kind of come up with the right product design. And as an API company, we think really deeply about the right API design for our users, which in some ways are humans building agents, eventually just agents building agents or agents, who knows? But in this case, what we do is, for example, over the web search API, we've made sure that it's very low latency and pretty decent accuracy. But then we have something called a research API, where we've taken the opposite stance, where we are okay with higher, lower speed and then much higher accuracy. And even within the research API, we've come up with many different SKUs, ranging from what we call our light option up to our frontier option, which basically operate on this curve where we can show that we have really good latency accuracy trade-offs. So I would say the way we think about latency accuracy in some of these trade-offs is being really conscious and kind of leaning in to configurability. Our belief is that at the end of the day, I think of it, and I kind of say this often, which is humans are lazy. When we're using search engines, we don't have the time to configure our search for our query. But guess who's not lazy? AI models. They're extremely efficient, and they're willing to configure their options. So what we think about is let's expose as much configurations as possible to our agents via our APIs and our parameters, and let them essentially decide based on their own budget what the latency cost accuracy curve should be. So that's kind of the way we think about it, is leaning really heavily into configurability.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to have a lightning round, then I'm going to open it up for question, but I have a game for all the audience. Who would like to win $100 gift card, Visa gift card? Only one person. Well, a bunch of you. All right. So the game is, so this is also like, I would love this favor from you. So take a picture of this panel, post it on LinkedIn, tag you.com. The person by the end of the panel who gets the most likes will win the gift card. So yeah, do that. Please post it on LinkedIn, tag @you.com. It's also a great way for you to just showcase your ability to be in AI. And then I will personally repost it. I have 30K followers. I will repost all of your posts. All right, let's see who gets the most likes.
Okay, now we know who's the best growth marketer here.
Awesome. All right. Okay. So lightning round. So one of the things that I will ask the three of you is to not use more than 2 sentences to answer this question, or I will shame you. So, all right, let's start. What's one myth about agents people should stop believing?
Hey, that they can do everything.
Good one.
They're monetarily efficient.
Yeah, no, my Replit bill is very high right now.
That they are aligned with you.
Okay, I see a bunch of people not taking pictures. Why? Please take pictures of us. Come on, we want you to all to participate. All right, if I'm building my first agent today, what should I focus on?
I think you should focus on the tools that the agent has access to.
I would say context.
Oh, good one.
And I was about to say something similar. I mean, I think you should either focus on a problem that you're having that an agent can help, which goes back to the context, or try to do something fun. I mean, you talked about your kid playing with agents. My kids play with Claude Code, and they created games. I mean, not even Claude Code. They now just use Claude to create games, and we play games on the games that they created. And it just sort of demystifies AI, demystifies agents. So to me, that ultimately you wanted to solve a problem for you. So context matters, but make the bar lower for you. Just have fun with it.
All right. Less than 2 sentences. I will let this one go, but it's all good.
I don't think I had a pause or a...
Fastest way to go from 0 to production with you.com, Saahil.
Get the free API key.
Awesome. Yes. And in your swag bag, there is a QR code you can scan. All right. What's one use case that will be everywhere next year? What's one use case that will be everywhere next year? Agentic AI.
Hey, maybe the joke would be, I mean, I think a few years ago, people used to send each other Calendlies. Now, maybe they're going to send calendar agents that are going to book meetings on each other's calendars, and people are not even aware of who's booking what.
The agents are going to Calendly each other, like they're going to
Calendly each other, take notes, and send you summaries.
I'm going to guess everyone's going to have some sort of agent harness doing work for them.
Agents will be calling other agents. We'll see this happening a lot more.
Okay, this is the $1 million question. You guys have to pay attention to this. What should everyone in this room go build after this to become a billionaire? Just to clarify.
That's not $1 million question. That's a $1 billion question. I'm going to do more than 2 sentences and get shamed for it. But I think that I would build something that brings you joy, that you want to see exist in the world, and just go for it. Barrier to entry is lower, and so like make something you're excited about. I'm like a huge fan of beach volleyball. There's maybe 200 of us in the United States, it feels like, but it's hard to track all the games. So I just like built an app to track it on my phone. And at the time, I had never written anything in Swift. So it was like a magic that I was able to do it. Figured it all out myself. And I think just like build something that brings you joy.
Wait, a random question. Do you like ping pong?
No.
Dang it. Okay, I was just going to say, because we have I reserved a huge space at Spin, and we're going to go play ping pong for Human X. So if you haven't seen our event, go on the LumaU.com calendar and RSVP. And the winner of the ping pong game, okay, maybe you'll start liking ping pong, will win a Mac Mini. So we're giving out 5 Mac Minis, brand new. So please do join us. I'll send you the link after that.
Hey, Matt will join if you have a beach volleyball.
Okay, next time we'll organize beach volleyball just for you, Matt. Okay, so yeah, what should people go build?
Hey, I think I almost answered it, right? In the sense that I think a lot of people have questions on what is AI, what do I do? Just go and make it easy for yourself and build something simple. When last week, for instance, I did like a session for some folks that I mentor, and I asked them to just go to Claude or a Perplexity and build a jobs dashboard. Right? It's actually so easy. You could link, you don't need to go to Claude Code. You could either use Perplexity Computer or you could just use Claude, link your Google Mail account, and it'll build your dashboard based on the emails you send, the emails you received, and it can literally tell you what stage you're in which job, right? So that's like a job tracker. Therefore, the first step is demystifying so that you get comfortable with it, and then see if you can have fun with it, and then build something useful, right? So it's like a step-by-step process. And it's actually not that difficult at all. I mean, every month and every week, it gets simpler and simpler and simpler. I mean, I try to build an app on Lark. Lark is TikTok's AI, which is way more advanced than Claude Code and all these things, right? Likewise, Meta has an internal AI tool.
This is more than 5 sentences. One more sentence.
So, hey, go build, have fun, and then try to make it useful for you.
So, Saahil, don't make me shame you.
I think it's really important to build products that get better with the advancements in these AI models instead of products that will be replaced by the AI models themselves. This is something I think about every day, which is how do we make sure that we're building in the right way? Yeah. So that's something I think is really important.
Awesome. All right. So now we're going to open it up for the audience. Really, you have amazing engineering leaders. Yes, go ahead.
So I think about 2 things. One is the performance of large language models and also the energy consumption of the AI factory. But we run into something like Jevonak's paradox. You improve the performance of inference, for example. That is good. But more people, the load will increase because the speed is fast, which will increase energy consumption. So how you can strike a balance between both of them? And both are very important.
I think this is a very depressing question because if you really think about it, you should probably be scared for all of us and all of our children and our children's children and the implications of it. But I think the reality here is that inference is getting better, but also the cost of inference hasn't really decreased. And it seems like there's more interest in using inference than actually the rate at which compute is becoming available. So I would say, maybe a hot take, but I think we're going to start seeing a bunch of this stuff asymptote really soon, and therefore like unlikely to hit the total doomsday scenarios that maybe the energy consumption might cause. But I'm sure humans will find a way to find different meaningful doomsday scenarios out of it.
I want to go back to the question of AI taking everybody's jobs. And one of the things, a different school of thought, and I wanted to pose this to you guys, is when the tools level, everybody has access to the same tools, more or less, right? I mean, with differences. The moat, the competitive advantage becomes the human. And to that point, IBM has actually doubled their hiring of entry-level folks because they're betting on that. They're betting on tool usage. They're betting on how do we implement and augment creativity to do things that we wouldn't be able to do before. Do you think that that is, we've been looking at a lot of future scenarios, right? Like, could that be a possible scenario?
I mean, I think I sort of mentioned that AI is coming for people's jobs, right? So maybe I'll address it, right? I sort of agree. I mean, in the sense that, look, and again, similar to the energy question earlier, right? Look, I actually think that a lot of people now do jobs that they don't like, they don't want to do, and maybe they do it because they want to earn an income, right? So I'm ultimately a believer in like universal basic income. I do not know if it'll ever come to happen. But if AI is here and taking jobs, then the question becomes, what do people do, right? Then people got to do what they're good at. And I mean, since I'm a PM, I essentially go and tell people that, look, yes, maybe there will be the need for less PMs going forward, but then what do you do as a PM? Your product insight should be deep, right? Your understanding of context, your understanding of products, your understanding of user interactions, your understanding of design needs to be super good. And people that are good at all of this will never need to be concerned about not having a job, right? And likewise, I was chatting with someone and he was talking about how his company has inbound PMs as opposed to PMs that look outside. So to me, again, people need to be end to end in the way they think, right? Therefore, the sort of indirect answer to what you're saying is, look, so there's no more question of half-assing a job, right? Whatever you do, you got to be good at it. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, it's like you could be a shoe designer, you could be an artist, you could be something. If you are really, really good at it, right, and you put your heart and soul into it, then yes, there is a need for you. But then the question becomes, hey, maybe that's 5% of the population. What about the other 95%? I mean, that is where I think the question then becomes, how do you then use the tool, right? So maybe you are an average PM or an average artist, you then use tools to make it better, right? So maybe to paraphrase the doomsday scenario that I mentioned earlier, I mean, the thing is, look, AI maybe can do a lot of things better. A lot of job functions might disappear. Then the question is, how do other people use those tools to make themselves useful? And I think the yardstick, which actually Matt mentioned, is, hey, at the end of the day, right, we all need to focus on how do we help a company or an entity or a firm grow. As long as the focus is on growth, it solves a lot of problems. Right now, the focus, unfortunately, in a lot of tech companies is there's not really much revenue growth, but they're investing in infra, which is resulting in people reduction. Whereas the perspective should always be, hey, what can I do to grow my business? What can I do to grow my opportunity? What can I do to grow the outcomes? What can I do to grow the surface area? Once you're thinking about it that way, then you can always come up with the ways to use the tools or the ways you would shape what you are into what is needed to be done, right?
Thank you. So I think we have one more question. So first of all, I want to say thank you to Leonid Palkuski. He posted about us. Thank you, Leonid. Thank you, Paola. Raise your hand. Thank you, Salko M. Who doesn't know Salko, by the way? He is like he has LPM, a big group. So do follow him. And then Mike A. Okay, but that's it. You guys, what's up? Please post. Come on. You have a real chance
maybe they
of
posted
winning
but
a
didn't
gift
tag you,
card.
Mariane.
Yes. Don't tag me. Tag you.com and LinkedIn. All right. No, so at you.com. Very easy. All right. One more question, Madison. Oh, well, no. Here, our star poster, Leonid. So he's in the back. Here. Go ahead.
Sorry. Well, I hope to win. So, what's your guys' take on when OpenClaw or any AI agent choose to, for example, use Supabase as a default choice for vibe coding? Like, how do we determine AI agents will pick up infrastructure to build on? Have you guys done any generative engine optimization or like optimization for AI agents to be chosen for? And what's your take on it?
Maybe not explicitly the infrastructure example, but I mean, who's doing AI with code review? Nobody's? Okay. Wow. What the hell are you all doing?
If you guys are not using AI to code, you're
Code
missing
review.
out.
Code review.
None of them are afraid of AI taking their jobs.
Yeah. Well,
Because their jobs
okay.
don't need AI.
So at this point, I would say we have about 35 agents doing code review. And each one, rather than just like one general code review agent, is looking for something opinionated. It might be GraphQL. Are you using GraphQL in the way we want? Is it to the spec that we have? Where we've like given it our opinionation and told it to use it. Our design system, security posture, how we want you to interact with the data layer of our product. And so I think that it's interesting because maybe there might be like a natural opinionation of like picking Supabase or whatever, that they're going to opt into buying you blue shoes more than anything else when you just like tell it to buy you shoes. But I think what makes the models actually approximate work, because I don't really think they do today out of the box, is that you give it enough opinionation that it produces something that you think even like approximates good. And each agent has like such a limited context window in the scheme of things that you really want these like specialists. They do so much better than the generalist agents. And so I think that for all of us, it's about our setting up an ecosystem of agents that follows our opinionation, and that we're able to give it the rubrics and context to make decisions reasonably on our behalf in every little one of the micro decisions that you have it doing. And it's just like an important orientation to get to do. And so I think you want to err away from the randomness where the agent could pick something for you and it could be like anything, and be able to give it like more opinion about its roles and let those agents then work together. And that's partially where the multi-turn comes in to then like ask you if it gets confused. And so like some of that's kind of on you to control for versus like what it might intuitively do, if that was your question.
Awesome. All right. So I think we're running out of time for the panel, but we're going to be here for another 40 minutes. Do not forget your swag bag. There's a portable phone charger and some hot cocoa. And also some chocolate. So yes. Okay, fine. One question, because you are very passionate. I want to hear you. But also, okay, let's do like a fast answer.
3 words.
Thank you. I'll do the LinkedIn post definitely. Yeah. Okay. Just a quick question I want to bring back to the economy and employment side, because I think both of you mentioned because the AI agent are already somehow reshaped the business model somehow. But you also mentioned that we don't see significant economical growing unless like several companies are investing each other and the infrastructure investing growing up. But I was wondering like how could this happen, because we already use AI to individuals, to companies, to make them more productive, but economic is not growing. And where do you think the problem is? And do we have any hope in the near future that it will start to grow? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I think, I think it's like a slightly more nuanced take. I think what Matt mentioned was the current, if I just talk about things as a stack, right? Think about any technology, I think about any product as having 3 layers. There's the infra layer, there's the app layer, then there's a software layer. Okay. So think about $100 being spent, right? So if we think about, hey, let's take a social network like Meta, or let's take Google search, or let's take even TikTok. The infra layer, which is the amount of money that Google, Meta, TikTok spend on maintaining the app or the software, is maybe $2 to $5. Okay, awesome. Out of $100. So let's assume Meta generates $100 of revenue. Out of the $100, $2 to $5 goes into the infra layer. Another maybe $2 to $5 goes into the app layer, and a few dollars goes to the software layer. So all the layers are less than $10 to $15 in total. So the remaining $85 is profit for Meta, TikTok, Google, etc. Now, if you think about AI, out of the $100, almost $90 to $95 is being spent on infra, which is the compute cost, which is the electricity, which is everything else, right? Therefore, right now, the use cases have not grown enough. It's only about $5 to $10 of use cases. But over the course of time, right? I mean, I would actually say that someone mentioned IBM has doubled their headcount, right? You think about a McKinsey that has, I don't know, tens of thousands of consultants. Do you really need so many consultants? I mean, when a granola is able to take as high quality notes as a junior analyst and summarize the action steps, or as a Lark, which is Meta's TikTok's AI takes better notes than a McKinsey analyst, gives me a better framework and a better action plan than a McKinsey consultant can. So then I don't need any of those people anymore, right? Therefore, the growth will come from, I don't need to spend much money on certain job functions. I don't need to spend much money on certain support functions, but I can maybe drive my revenue forward. And that's the evolution. And that will be the next step that I guess Matt is hinting at, right? I mean, does it make sense, Matt? I just added a little bit more color to.
I think a lot of that makes sense, but maybe like slightly different version of your question. We're so polluted by living in San Francisco. It's like my mom knows about ChatGPT because her friends make a joke that in French it's cat I farted, chat GPT. But it's not like she's using it to change her everyday life. Like 90% of industry, like actual companies, it's like not really meaningfully changing what they do every day. And it just happens that like every coffee shop we walk into, that's all anyone's talking about. But it hasn't, I think, like hit the maximum. And some of this is the use cases. So like the largest non-pornography use case of AI, LLMs, is anyone know? It's homework. 60% of all calls to ChatGPT are homework related. That's not creating a ton of economic opportunity, arguably killing it, depending on who you're asking. And so if you're just like looking at the use cases, I think for the most part, a lot of this extraordinarily expensive compute is going into
Hey, what is 2 plus 2, right?
aren't really like moving it forward in a meaningful way. But I do think some of those things are going to change over time, but it might be faster diffusion than we've seen in other areas, but there's so much to do. But it's like weird use cases, right? Like I have kids and my kids keep bothering me about what they should do when they're bored. And I just like took pictures of all of the games that we have. And I made a Alexa skill. And you could just ask Alexa, what do I do when they're bored? And Alexa like can look through the ChatGPT, indexed all the photos and just like knew what we had. And we were working on a Minecraft mod, which I didn't know how to do otherwise. And Minecraft doesn't let you copy and paste out of easier. I just like screenshot the screen and threw it in Claude Code. It could like read everything in there. But there's all sorts of these cool use cases. My wife is a preschool
All right,
teacher.
okay, that's definitely more than 2 sentences.
I know, whatever.
All right, okay.
And so it's like lots of so cool stuff, but it's not diffuse yet. So
okay.
Talk about what does diffusion mean. I mean, I just want to go down this thread
One
forward.
sentence. Right? One sentence. As long as you guys take pictures of us and post it online, we can stay.
Think about B2B SaaS, right? I mean, B2B SaaS is like a $5 trillion market cap industry right now, right? I mean, if we just
cutting a third.
Right? I mean, now it's maybe a third, but think about the real spend. I mean, so I have friends at JP Morgan. JP Morgan spends about $15 to $20 billion a year on software, right? So now there is a lot of chance to disrupt that spend. So I would say that why would JP Morgan, now I'm going to use the same example that I talk about the infra layer, right? So imagine the JP Morgan is saying, hey, I need to spend, I don't know, X dollars on Slack, Y dollars on some authentication, Z dollars on Okta, Y, et cetera, and my $20 billion, and this $20 billion goes A towards growth, B towards risk management, C towards something. If that 20, say, can be brought down to 5, right? That's a almost $15 billion saving and maybe a 15% saving on their total annual cash flow, right? And this, therefore, the money is there for disruption, right? Now, that might unfortunately result in value destruction for a lot of SaaS companies and value being captured by a few other companies. But I think that's what maybe he means by it's going to play out over time, right? But I mean, I am essentially, look, I don't want to
All right. Okay. Let's finish this panel so that we can enjoy more of the food. But give a huge round of applause for our amazing speakers. All right. So now I'm gonna announce. I will announce soon the winner. I need to tally up the likes. But I wanted to just say, please come to our spin event. So I will send you there. We're already almost near capacity. So apply today if you can. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Try out you.com, and we're going to do these events almost weekly. So join us for a future event. And how can they stay connected to you guys?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I pretty much accept most people's invites.
Yes.
Unless you're a spam artist or Orlando. So
connect with him but don't spam him.
Or you could find him on Handshake. Next generation. Like, no, yeah. So
I'm not next gen enough to be on
that's
Handshake.
okay. That's okay.
And Saahil, how do we stay connected with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
Send me
Awesome. Thank you so much. Please, we have this space until 9. So enjoy the food, enjoy the drinks, and we'll see you at our next event.
Woohoo!
Thank you.